goodness, guys, I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter, and this is Write the Book Now. This is where we interview amazing authors with amazing books. And tonight, when I tell you I have a treat for you, I have the wonderful authors of the Chronicles of the Chronically Ill. Oh my God, welcome everyone.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. The pioneer author is Dr. Marquita S. Blade. She is here with her co-authors, Ms. V.C. Johnson, Ms. Sarah Wright, Ms. Gretchen Hyatt, Dr. Shivi Quinn, and Latrenda Rush. Hello, ladies. Thank you all for joining us. Absolutely. So, guys, I've just given your name, but before we dive into the book, I would love for you to share just a little information about who you are and a little bit about your background. And Dr. Blades, we're going to start with you.
All right. Well, thank you again for having us, Dr. Sharon. We're just so excited to share our stories now that the book is out and the hardest part is behind us. I'm Dr. Marquita Blades. I am an 18-year veteran in the education field, 16 years in the classroom, and now 2 years as an independent consultant. And those 2 years are critical to the book because it was my chronic illness diagnosis that eventually forced me out of my teaching position. So about 8 or 9 years ago, I was diagnosed with lupus, and over the years, there's just been a steady stream of ups and downs. I would say the past 5 years were more downs than up. And so after having to leave my teaching position and working really hard to regain my health and independence, I thought that it would be time for me to start sharing this story with others. And that's how the book came about.
Awesome. I tell you, Miss Latrenda Rush, can you please give a little background about who you are?
I am Latrenda Bailey Rush. I am a cancer survivor of Hodgkin's lymphoma. I was diagnosed in 2008 and received treatments up until the beginning of 2010 almost. I'm happily married with 4 children. I've also taught in the classroom up to 15 years. I have recently stepped away from the classroom to take a break and homeschool my own children. During this process of recovering, I've been faced with a lot of different challenges. However, the great thing about it is survivorship is not just barely making it, it's thriving and encouraging others. And what I can give back is encouragement. And so I would say for my role that I play as a survivorship is to advocate for those who don't have a voice, and not only being the voice for the voiceless, also be encouragement and educate even the African American community on the importance of getting checkups and how they should take care of themselves and the proper nutrition that they need to have in order to be healthy. And so that's what I have to give back. And that's just a little bit about myself. I'm an encourager as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Miss Sarah Wright, if you could please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. My name is Sarah, and I'm a mom of 3 boys and a wife to my husband for 15 years. I started having seizures when I was 13 and was diagnosed with a brain tumor when I was 14. And so those are struggles that I've had since that point in time. And I was a teacher for 12 years, but stepped out of the classroom recently to teach online at home and to focus on my family and work on some writing.
Wow, thank you so much. Miss Gretchen Hyatt, please introduce yourself and give us a little of your background.
Hi, I am Gretchen Hyatt. I'm originally from Little Rock, Arkansas, currently residing in Concord, North Carolina. My background is having a being personally affected with mental health challenges, as well as a physical chronic health. I'm sorry. It. I'm sorry, but currently I work in the mental health field what I do is I assist those, I educate, inspire, and instill hope to those that have duly diagnosed mental health challenges. And what I do is I assist them with identifying housing and mental health services in the community. And I work with a clinical team. But what I love about what I do is that it's my background with having lived experience with having a mental illness as well as having the chronic illness. It allows me to be able to reach people right where they are, build solid relationships, because when you're working with people's lives as far as housing and resources to help them get a level of recovery or stability, building those real relationships are key for their own recovery efforts. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you so much, Ms. VC Johnson. Please introduce yourself and please share a little of your background.
Cool. I'm VC. I am a teacher, a middle school teacher. And this is year 20 for me. And I'm surprised nobody told me to leave yet on account of my issues, because I always have to be out at some point in time. Hopefully that won't happen this year by the grace of God. And but I am a mother, a baseball mom, now a band mom, because I have a middle schooler of my own now. And I'm a playwright, so I have shows coming up, so no time to stop for illnesses, but it is what it is.
I love that. Oh my goodness. Thank you. And Dr. Shiva Quinn, please introduce yourself and share a little about your background.
Well, hello, everyone. I am Dr. Shiva Quinn. And let's see a little bit about myself. I served 20 years in the United States Air Force before retiring. I spent another 20 years pursuing a degree in education, earned my doctoral degree in education, then realized this lupus wasn't going to let it happen. So, yeah. So anyway, I taught for a little while. Like I said, didn't work too well. And I ended up, because I enjoy what I do. I homeschool my kids, and I suffer with lupus and PTSD on a daily basis with 2 kids that are wide open. So yeah, so we make it happen. It's kind of crazy around here, and we are well aware that we are all hold off some.
I absolutely love the fact that sounds like most of you guys are some form of an educator. And I don't know if you know, but I love my edupreneurs. And so I'm so excited to see that you are still pursuing something in spite of all that you're going through. And that really leads me to Dr. Blades. Dr. Blades, you are the pioneer author of this wonderful collaboration project. Can you please share with us what prompted you to want to put this out?
Well, I knew that at some point I would start to share my story, but I didn't know when or how that would happen. Actually, I have been following Gretchen for years on Facebook. She is my soror, and she was very open with her own journey. And watching her share some of her trials and triumphs publicly led me to also start doing the same on Facebook. So I would just, post a status here and there about some of the challenges that I was experiencing with my lupus. And I realized that it resonated with people. And a lot of people would tell me that they would be inspired by the things that I shared. And so when I finally did resign from teaching in 2016, I had the opportunity to participate on someone else's anthology. And I guess just to kind of backtrack a little bit, I knew that I wanted to be writing books. I wanted to be an author. But prior to that, I was always held back thinking that somebody needed to call upon me before I would be able to do it. I just didn't know that you just needed to step out and do it yourself. So when I wrote a chapter in that anthology, it gave me the push that I needed. So I said to my husband, you know what, I'm ready to write. But physically, I knew that it would take me a long time if I were going to write an entire book by myself. So I said, you know what, I think I'll lead my own anthology now. And so I couldn't decide if I wanted to talk about being a teacher and that journey, or if I wanted to talk about my chronic illness journey first. And so my husband was like, why are you picking one? You know, just do both of them. And so that's how these projects came about. And this one in particular is the first one.
I love that, because that's exactly how I started. I was asked to be upon, one, and I was like, oh my goodness, I can do this too. So exactly. So now we're going to dive into just a little bit of the chapters. And so we're going to start with VC. VC, if you could start by telling us what your chapter title is and just a little bit about what you're writing, because as I always say, we are only sharing a little bit because you got to buy the book to get the rest of the information. So VC, what's the title of your chapter?
Oh gosh. See Me, Inner Pain, Outer Struggle? I think it's like that. Yeah. Inner Pain, Outer Struggle. And just a little bit about my diagnoses. I have fibromyalgia, which I was diagnosed with in 2003. It was kind of a scary situation. I went through a lot of different misdiagnoses before they settled in on fibromyalgia. I had a situation come up at work, and they had to call an ambulance for me because I was like, I couldn't feel my arm, and I was having all these different issues going on. And they said migraines, and then they said something else. And I said, something is wrong with me, and somebody needs to tell me right now. So I finally went to a doctor that did some things, and he finally said, okay, I know what's wrong with you. So then you fast forward to 2008, I get diagnosed with an autoimmune disease that at the time they called undifferentiated connective tissue disease, because none of my blood work pointed to any one particular autoimmune illness. I had symptoms of a lupus-like thing. I had a rheumatoid type stuff, and on top of the fibromyalgia. And then they finally said that the discoid lupus came about in 2010, and they kind of shoved it to the side. But then when my eye started to get worse, then they finally put the label on it. And I've been through a lot of different scenarios with it. So I talk in the book kind of how it sneaks up on you. I was fine one day and I was not the next. And that's how it's been for the rest of the time since being diagnosed. So I talk about that, and then I talk a little bit about reactions, people's reactions to illnesses that don't manifest itself for me to be out and down for the count and being pitiful and sad. And sometimes that you're there, but most of the time you look perfectly fine. For me, my illness manifests itself in my eyes, and right now it's flaring up. And so both, if it used to be just one, now it's both. So I do a lot of talking about how it made me feel to kind of carry this almost in isolation, because nobody truly understood how I was feeling. Why am I hurting so much? Why can I not work? It's not as simple as take an Advil and go take a nap and you'll be okay. It's not a headache. It's chronic. And I'm always going to be in some semblance of pain. So just my chapter kind of helps you to understand where I'm coming from, so you can truly start to gain some understanding, some respect, and some education on what it is that we deal with.
And you touched on something that's so important, because those of us who don't experience chronic pain and illness, we probably don't relate to that, and it will take educating, because I've learned so much in just this few minutes here, and several of you said something prior to us coming on air, is that people don't really understand because you don't look like what you're going through. You still pushing through, even with working with the classroom full of students. So that's very important. Thank you so much. So Miss Sarah Wright, we're going to go to you. Please share your chapter title and just a little bit about your chapter.
Okay. The title was It's Not All in My Head. And so when I started, like, as I stated, I had a brain tumor when I was younger, And the result of that was seizures. And the seizures are pretty much under control, but it still affects the way I focus on life, and the way with brain fog and word finding. And it's like you said, things can't be seen on the outside, and I can look like everything's fine, but and also be mentally exhausted, and that affects my organization and my work, and just different areas such as that.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's go to Miss LaTrenda Rush. Please share your title and a little bit about what's in your chapter.
Okay. The title of my story is From the Inside Out to the Outside In. And to relate to my other co-authors, a lot of people would say, you don't look sick, or you don't look like you survived cancer. And so they assume, okay, well, you're over cancer there, that's it, moving on with the normal life. You're never normal. This is your new normal. And there's never a bounce back. It's always accepting where you are and moving forward in a positive mindset. And so with my diagnosis, it was more of a mindset than anything. I actually put scriptures and positive things around my environment, in my home, at my office, in my car, to just remind me that I can do this. It was like the little red caboose. I think I can till I know I can, because I saw a lot of people pass away. I'm going to this chemo room every other week, and I would say, well, what happened to such and such? Oh, she's gone now. So I really had to get my mind psyched up to keep myself encouraged. And that's why I advocate so hard and so passionate for those who encounter cancer, not just at a younger age, but any age, because if you don't watch it, if you don't catch yourself and the way your mind frame is, you'll begin to think negative as well. And so that was part of what From the Inside Out to the Outside In was about, along with my husband, and how he had to step up, because we didn't have family in the area that we had recently moved to. And he had to step up, and it strengthened our marriage, and it also tried our marriage. It strengthened our children, and it tried our family unit. And so it was an experience like no other. But I wouldn't change anything, because I know if I would have, I wouldn't be as strong as I am now.
Thank you so much. Dr. Shiva Quinn, please tell us your chapter and a little bit about what's in your chapter.
Awesome. Let me see. What is the name of my chapter? I think it's Living with Lupus and PTSD. I think is that it, Dr. Blake? Listen, let me tell y'all something. I got so much going on in my mind. Half time, I don't even know what I'm doing. But wow, my chapter was, like Dr. Blake said, it was very powerful for me. It was a personal journey for me that was very powerful. I released a lot of me in this chapter, and it just allowed me to really just take hold of my life and figure out what had been going on. Like, I was dealing with lupus, and I started dealing with PTSD as a child, but I didn't know what it was. I just knew I was kind of thrown off. But then when lupus came about, I didn't know I was dealing with that either. Like, it was all this kind of came down on me at once. And it really started coming down on me when I had my kids. And so, like, I would be walking and I'd start falling, or I was always exhausted. And I'm like, hold on. Like, I was running marathons. Like, why I can't run no more? Why my muscles hurt? Like, why my knees hurt? And then, and of course, being a scholar, I write and type a lot. So then my bones and my hands started hurting. And I'm like, I need my hands. Like, y'all got to fix this. So I'm going to the doctor and they treat me for arthritis. So they kept treating me for arthritis over and over. Then they was like, well, it's rheumatoid arthritis. I'm like, okay, just give me a good drug, but it wasn't working. And so finally, my doctor's mother had lupus. Okay. My doctor's mother had lupus. So some of the things I was complaining about, she was like, she could relate those to some of the same things that her mother complained about. So she sent me off to see a specialist. And like I said, I was in the military. So it wasn't a military doctor that detected this. Like I said, the military doctor just kept telling me, take some more Motrin and drink some water and you will be all right. There ain't nothing but arthritis. It'll go away. Have a seat, put on a hot pack. You a knee brace. You cool. And so when I went to see the rheumatoid arthritis doctor and she ran some tests and she was like, okay, so this is what we're dealing with. And then a lot of things just started to make sense. Like it made sense why I couldn't run anymore. It made sense why I was always depressed. And then know why I was depressed. Like, I mean, I've been dealing with depression all my life, but this is like a different type of depression. It was a depression. I was depressed because like I couldn't wake up. Like, who doesn't like to sleep? But that was making me mad because I had things to do. Like, I don't want to sleep. Like, I got things to do, So I was mad because I was depressed, right? And then I become anxious, and I'm like, where's all this coming from? So anyway, the diagnosis made things a whole lot clearer. It had an effect on how I raise my kids, now. I married and divorced my husband twice, my ex-husband twice, because hell, I was crazy. And he like, girl, I can't deal with you and all these issues because we don't know if you up or you down. So it was just all kind of stuff going on that now I can identify with why I was such in the mindset that I was in. But yeah, it really did. So yeah, the book allowed me to relieve those issues that I had been dealing with.
Wonderful. And I don't know, but you also have a calling for a comedian. I want you to know that. Keep it lively. I love it. And I would like to welcome Dr. Tori Brown. Dr. Tori, if you could, first of all, share a little bit about who you are and then go into the title of your chapter and then just a little bit about your chapter.
Yes. Sorry I'm late. I'm in Florida, was in a storm. I just got power back. So I was without power. Sorry about that. Yes, I'm Dr. Tori Brown. Love the elephant. Sorry. Hey, Pacey. Yes, my name of my chapter is Blessings Covered in Sugar Honey Iced Tea. And the reason I called it that is because I am the one that was normal, well, as normal as you can say. I was fine, okay. Only thing I suffered was from migraines, the family curse as we call it. But I was pretty normal, always a rebel with a cause, the homegirl from the loo, and was fine until I had a baby. And having that baby just totally changed my world. What I was told is I went through postpartum depression, and for some reason my hormones never balanced back out. And I just was different. Didn't understand it. They said it was depression, but Black folks, we not depressed. I was like, this ain't depression, this just game time. My mama told me I'm a Black female, it's gonna be hard. I've been prepared for this all my life. This game time. Depression, Black folks don't go through depression. Medication, that's for crazy people. You want me to do what? Go tell my business to strangers? We don't do that. So I had to get over the stigma of the strong woman syndrome that we do suffer from depression. And until I was told that if you had cancer, would you get treatment? And I said, of course. Cancer is a chronic illness. Well, they said depression is a chronic illness. And until that was broken down to me like that, then I realized this is a problem. Until I was driving in the car and said, I just want to unfasten my seatbelt and fall out, I knew it was a problem. Until I was in the car with my husband, who was in the Navy at the time, and I said, there's a parking space, and he passed it, and I started to cry uncontrollably, like someone died. I knew there was a problem. Also at this time, I just wasn't feeling right. I was tired a lot. I was in a lot of pain. Unfortunately, this was 1998. There was no such thing as fibromyalgia. I was tested for everything. Everything came back fine. It was in my head. And I'm like, no, something's wrong. Doctor after doctor, after specialist, it's in your head. It's in your head. No, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And it took about 6 months before I finally got to this doctor who said, hey, I just came back from this conference and I know what you have. It's not in your head. There's no test out yet that tests for this. And it's called fibromyalgia. And I've never been so happy to receive a diagnosis in my life, because now someone believes me, except my family. No one understands what it feels like to be in pain 24/7, because it's not humanly possible to be in pain 24/7 and still look this good. But we do. No one knows what it's like. And my doctor still to this day says, Dr. Tori, I don't sometimes understand how you even walk in my office. And I said, because I have 2 eyes looking at me, my girls. That's why I do what I do. That's why I'm still here. That's why I fight. And every day I live to advocate to eliminate the stigma of mental health, because I refuse to be a victim. And I work to eliminate that stigma in the African American community, mainly in the churches, because going through this, I was pushed out of the church because I was told I just needed God. I just needed Jesus and all of these things. And I was touched, but you know what? I am touched. Touched in the head, I am touched. But what did Jesus say? All you need to do is touch me and you're going to be healed. You know, and I've seen God turn my test into testimony. And that's why I do what I do. I'm an advocate. I'm a motivational speaker. And I go out and I tell people it's okay to go through your trials and tribulations, because God put me through this, because now I have my doctorate in theology and counseling. I go out and I speak on this, and what I do and what I work with, I am able to speak not only as an advocate and as a professional of mental health, but also as a consumer. I'm able to speak from the point of view that what I know is not in a textbook. I know from personal experience, you know, and it's the stories we tell, you're never going to know because you haven't walked this walk.
And I think that's probably the most important part, is that, and for you ladies writing your stories, because we won't know until ladies like you tell your story. So I definitely applaud each one of you for doing that. That leads us to the pioneer author, Dr. Marquita S. Blaze. Please tell us your chapter title and a little bit about what we can expect when we read your chapter.
So my chapter is titled, But You Don't Look Sick, which is the recurring theme that you hear from all of my co-authors. And before I talk about my chapter, I just want to highlight, and I'm sure our viewers have picked up on this as well, you've heard 3 or 4 different diagnoses, right? But you keep hearing the same theme. And then you keep seeing everybody shake their head like, yeah, me too, me too. So my main thing that I've gotten the whole time has been, but you don't look sick though. And even one of my close girlfriends told me, because I remember one time I was struggling with why people would not donate to my lupus walk team. And I was having a very hard time getting people to support. And one of my really good girlfriends broke it down for me. And I can't say exactly the phrase that she said, but she basically was like, Bleed, you don't look sick. So people have no sympathy. Like she said, you want people to feel sorry for you, but your hair is done and you dress well and you wear your heels and you travel and you're a successful educator. And you want people to feel sorry for that when there's people out here who have nothing wrong with them and they still feel like, you know, they're the ones struggling. So I was like, oh my goodness, this whole thing of the visual is so impactful for people on the outside looking in. And so my chapter, basically, I just kind of explore not only the chronic illness, but all the other life things that happened to me while I was battling this disease, and the place that it kind of took me to. Everybody knows, anybody who knows me for any length of time knows that I wanted to be a teacher as a kid. And so to grow up and to have the job that you always wanted to have, and loving that job, and just getting up, waking up every day with that passion for educating and that passion for teenagers, and then to be in a position where you go from being the teacher who everybody wants to be in her class to the one where now they're saying stuff like, well, she can't teach, and we don't do nothing in her class. We just sit there. And it was heartbreaking because they weren't lying. I literally was just showing up every day, doing barely enough to keep my job. Even my coworkers were having to do stuff for me to hold me up. My mom was having to drive me to work and set up the classroom and come back and get me. And then when I got married, those duties transferred over into my husband. And y'all, I literally was collecting a paycheck and being able to keep my insurance active. And to know that that's what you're doing, even though you're passionate about something. And y'all, I would wake up every day and tell myself, today it hurts and I'm in so much pain, but I'm going to go in here and I'm going to give it my all and I'm going to be great. But by the time I get to work, I'm sitting in the parking lot in tears, can't even get out of the car. If I could get out of the car, it takes me 20 minutes to walk in the building. And so there I was, like another day that I wasn't great. And I just was like, well, let me just try to get through it the best I can. And then you got all these kids. You see 125, 130 kids every day, and they're looking to you to give them something. And you know you don't have it to give. And so it breaks you down. It really does. And so that's what my chapter is about, all of those little side issues that you're dealing with, but meanwhile, everybody else is looking on the outside. And even when you tell them, even when you say to them, this is what I'm dealing with, and they just shake their head and say, no, because I don't even believe that because you don't look like it.
Wow. And I think Dr. Tori Brown was the one that actually mentioned how family, I think she was shocked somewhere, I think it was Dr. Tori Brown, but how family, it was hard for them to believe. And this is a question for anyone who can jump in. Have you found that your family or those closest to you have the most difficulty understanding your illness?
Dr. Sharon, until they see it. And I'm not talking about, oh, my arm hurts a little bit, but I'm still walking around. They have to literally see you can't move. They have to be physically trying to help drag you out the bed before they really even begin to acknowledge how sick you might be. And so with that being said, there's still really only 2 or 3 people who now I have their full sympathy and their full support because they've seen it with their own eyes. Back to that same year with my lupus walk, I remember asking some family members to donate, and they told my mom, well, what am I going to give money for? Because if I give the money, ain't she still going to have lupus?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Dr. Shiva, it sounds like you've experienced something similar.
Listen, let me tell you, I live in a house with 2 kids. So I'm the only adult around here. So don't nobody see me. Like, it's me up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning just trying to get it together before the kids get up. And then when I tell the kids I'm not feeling well, hell, they take it as an opportunity to play doctor on mama. Come on, let's fix mommy. No, dude, leave me alone. But yeah, I mean, they just don't get it. And you know, when they have the family events and you show up looking like, either one or two ways. You know, you looking fabulous, or you looking like, shoot, I don't feel like today, but I'm here. Either way, you gonna hear their mouth. Oh, well, you look good. Your lips must not be bothering you. Girl, you need to go comb your hair. And it's like, just let me be. I'm here. Just take it for what it is. But they just, even my kid's father, you know, I had to literally tell him, listen, I'm not feeling well. And when he comes pick him up, he's like, you look all right to me. I may look it, but child, either me or these kids finna go. You better take them. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
What it is.
Dr. Tori?
I'm with Dr. and I'm similar to Dr. Shiva. I married mine twice too. And I think, you know, he was with me through the process and he saw it, but sometimes I think it's too much sometimes. And then I think like with my family as well, they see it, they understand it. But I think sometimes we put on the cape and we put the appearance that we're okay, you know, because I know I was raised, you don't show weakness, you know, you don't show any weakness and we want to be okay. But if we don't do it, who's going to do it? So we push ourselves to do it. I'm a single mom of two. So we push ourselves to do it. And then when we get to the point where we can't do it, it's like, well, can't you do a little more? And we like, I'm doing the best I can. And then we get disappointed at our family because we feel like, why can't you see I'm doing the best I can? You know? And I just sometimes feel like my family don't get it. You don't understand because these my kids. You know, I would die for my kids. So how can you not understand I'm doing the best I can? You know, so it's like, I know I'm doing the best I can, but I feel like they don't really see it. But then I guess I kind of pull it on myself because I don't show that all the time that I'm not at my best because I push myself. You know, I'm on disability, but I still work because, you know, I ain't get 2 masters and a doctorate to be on disability. So when I can, I'm going to work to somebody's job because I just, you know, that's just me. And when I know I need to be laid up somewhere, and then when I work too much, I'm bedridden, you know, but then my family looking like, well, why ain't you getting up and working? Don't need to be going somebody's job, but you know I'm on disability. But I bring it on myself because when I'm supposed to be laid up, I'm trying to work somebody's job. And then when I ain't working, looking like, why you ain't working? Because I'm on disability. But you just work another day.
So tell me, ladies, what do you think, and I'm thinking of the person that's probably at the beginning stage of where you all were. What suggestions would you give to those individuals? Because several of you have mentioned that you've had several diagnoses, some of them misdiagnosed. What would you recommend to individuals that are going through that now and don't know what's wrong?
I would like to speak. Gretchen Hyatt, I actually had the last chapter of the book, and this kind of leads into kind of what I wrote about. I actually talked about the manifestation of starting with anxiety and then how it manifested into the diagnosis of fibromyalgia and mental illness. A lot of times people don't talk about the thoughts in their heads and their journey, the manifestation of the diagnosis. And that's pretty much how you can read mine. It's the kind of like a chronological events that led to it, but it's a lot of it is from the thoughts, from what I saw, but experienced. So somebody early on, a lot of times you can feel it in your gut that something's wrong, but you can't put your finger on it. What I would suggest for you to do is, first of all, trust your gut because you know your body and your mind better than anybody else. Start journaling things. Little small things can add up because that's what happened with me. It didn't start with nothing big. It started with little things that just kind of piled up over the years, and it ended up becoming something big. Definitely talk with your doctor. Don't be afraid to be honest in your doctor's appointments. If you are having a good day or not so good day, start journaling the good days and the bad days and start seeing if you can see some consistency. Check the weather. A lot of times, believe it or not, around the holidays, around weather events like weather changes, if you start feeling physically like out of it or even mentally out of it, look at anniversaries and events, and if somebody passed away, those are some major triggers. A lot of people don't know the word trigger, and those things can create physical and or mental events or episodes, is what we kind of call it, or a crisis, a setback, a flare-up. But people who are vets in this, we kind of know what those are. But if you're early on, best thing to do is journal what's going on. Take the journal to your doctor. Make the doctor do a referral. Make sure they do all the tests, because you do have insurance for all the tests. And also specialists. If you don't agree, get a second opinion, get a third opinion. Those are also big to do. But the main thing is, if you feel like something's wrong, something's wrong. Don't be, because somebody told you, oh, it's just in your head, or no, you may just be going through something. Even if it's stress, even if it's grief, even if it's loss, even if you're feeling like stuck or stagnant, that is still something. You want to look into it, because it can lead to something else.
Thank you, Gretchen. And we have a question from one of the viewers, Dr. LaChawn Winston. She asked, if you had to identify a challenge that you wanted people to know about, what would that challenge be? And anyone can answer.
I can say for me currently, I have a 19-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 7-month-old, and just getting through this interview has been a challenge. I don't have the luxury of having a babysitter. I don't have the luxury of those things. So those are the biggest things, especially when I'm having an episode, is managing the household with me plus 3. Mm-hmm. I have God. I have meds. I have phone calls. But at the end of the day, they still look at me to get through everything.
Okay. And Dr. Blades, and then we'll go to Dr. Brown.
I would say the biggest challenge for me is constantly referring back to what my life was like prior to my diagnosis. And not just the diagnosis, but prior to the symptoms kind of advancing and exacerbating. And when I am okay, I remember all of the things that I love to do and how well I used to do them, and would want to just jump back in and think that, okay, I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to work on this, and I'm going to work on that. And even knowing that it's probably going to make me sick if I do too much, but you feel like a failure sometimes when you're not able to accomplish things that used to come easy to you. Mm-hmm. And so even though you're putting your health at risk, something in your mind still forces you to like, oh, well, I'm going to push anyway, and I'm going to do this anyway, because I don't want people to think I'm lazy, or, I don't want people to think I fell off. And I think that goes back to the point that Dr. Torrey made. Sometimes that's how we make it hard for people to sympathize and empathize with us, because when we get those 2 or 3 good days, we want to go back to being that high functioning, high performing person that we used to be, as opposed to just kind of saying, well, you know what, I'm still all of those things, but I just have to be that in smaller doses now.
Okay. Anyone else would like to identify a challenge that you would like for people to know about?
I think for me, one of my biggest challenges is just my insecurity, and do I accept myself the way I am, or do I explain each situation I go through and say, oh, this happened because of my issues with my brain. Do I just need to explain that to people, or just move forward in life and this is me, this is who I am, and let it go? And that's one of my biggest challenges.
Can you hear me? Okay, there you go. Okay. other than the challenge of my getting over the fact that I feel like my body has turned against me and everything that everyone said, my other challenge is advocacy. We definitely need more advocacy. I feel like we're constantly battling a system that's been put in place to help us. The mental health system constantly battling for more funds, for more resources, doctors, medication, more affordable medication, more affordable services. It's a constant battle, me as a consumer and also as a provider. And so, when we need help and to have to call and have to wait 2-3 months to get in to see a counselor, a therapist, or a psychiatrist for medication management, it's hard, and so I would say that that's a big problem and it's a big issue. So advocacy is a challenge for I feel like for me, and like I said, me being a rebel with a cause, I'm always fighting for myself, but always for others, and that's a really big thing.
Okay, well, let
me comment on that because
absolutely.
Yeah. So like probably about 4 or 5 months ago, I don't know if it's been that long, but I went to file for disability, right? For what's that, SSD or I something, I don't know, but for disability. And I received disability through the military, because I'm a veteran. But child, when I went up in that courthouse, oh my goodness, you're talking about them dragging me through the mud. They drug me so deep through the mud. I was like, if y'all don't get a counselor on the phone, right? I thought I was going to go to jail. I mean, the judge was like, so you mean to tell me that you in here wanting disability, but yet you were able to complete a doctoral degree? So you mean to tell me you got this degree and you can't go to work? I mean, it was like, I felt like I was defenseless, even though I had I had been preparing for this case for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And working with my lawyer and all that, and still to go before this judge, because I had been turned down twice. So I finally got a hearing before the judge. And I go before the judge and he just like, so did they give you a break on your degree? So did you not work as hard? So how did you do this? So wait a minute, you telling me you got well, who takes care of your kids? I was like, y'all, listen, I was there. I thought I was going to go to jail. Seriously, my lawyer kept patting me on my leg. It's like, it's okay, Sheba, it's okay. But I was so heated because I'm like, dude, I gave 20 years to this country. Yeah. Not only that, I went above and beyond to serve my country again after I retired through education. Right. And I take care of my own children. And you want to like drag me through the mud? Oh yeah, I thought I was gonna catch a case that day. But it just goes to show that, we don't even have the luxury of collecting Social Security. Like I paid into Social Security ever since I was 16 years old. Dang it, I want my check. You know what I mean? And I can't even get it. So
I was denied.
The biggest struggle.
I fought 5 years. I was denied twice, and the judge told me I was denied because I was overeducated. I was too young. I had 6 doctors, evidence, and it finally went before the auditor. And they said, no, ma'am. They told the judge, no, ma'am. And that's how I finally got approved.
Wow, that's really incredible. And I'm sure the challenges are numerous and they keep going. Dr. Tori, you had a copy of the book. If you can please show the bestseller, and congratulations, guys. Clap your hands for yourselves. Absolutely. Bestseller. And I think Dr. Blaze in more than one category, right?
Actually, yes, we hit the bestseller in 3 categories under chronic pain, genetic health, and I can't remember.
That's okay, but it was
blame it on the brain fog. I can't remember.
So definitely congratulations. And I just Dr. LaCharn Winston again, she said this has just blessed her evening. And so I just thank you all for sharing. Someone has says thank you for your bravery. Thanks for sharing your story. You just don't know, and maybe you do, how impactful it is. I always say your story is about you, but it's not for you. So I appreciate you all taking a stance and telling people what we need to know, because again, if we don't walk that walk, it may not resonate with us until we hear your story. So thank you, ladies. Before we go out, I need each of you, starting with VC Johnson, to please tell us, how can people follow you, how can they connect with you, and how can they purchase the book from you if they so desire?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram at VMJ Media Group. That's V as in Victor, JMJ Media Group. And that's also on Facebook, VMJ Media Group. And you can order the book directly from me at bit.ly/VMJ Books.
Okay, thank you. Miss Sarah Wright, how can they connect with you and how can they purchase the book from you?
I have a website, www.redeemedbride.com, and there is a place on there to order the book directly from me.
Thank you. Gretchen Hyatt, please share your social media contact and where can they purchase the book from you?
You can purchase the book from me through my website or my Facebook page, The Residual Queen, or you can go to my website at theresidualqueen.com.
Thank you. Dr. Tori Brown, please share your contact information and how they can purchase from you.
Yes, I'm on Facebook, or you can purchase a book from me, paypal.me/Dr. Tori Brown. And like I said, you can contact me on Facebook or email me at Spiritual Fortitude, SPIRITUAL Fortitude, FORTITUDE, one word, @gmail.com.
Thank you. And Dr. Shiva Quinn.
Well, I'm all over Facebook at Dr. Shiva Quinn, and you can purchase from me at paypal.me/Dr. Shiva Quinn /$25. Run me my coins, please. I'm just kidding.
You are hilarious, Dr. Quinn. Miss LaTrenda Rush.
I can be located on Instagram, Survivor of Cancer. You can purchase the book at paypal.me/Sherelle Enterprise.
Thank you. And the pioneer author, Dr. Marquita S. Blades.
On Facebook, I am Marquita Smith Blades. So easy to find there. And to get the book directly from me, it's drmarquitablades.com.
Awesome. Ladies, I thank you so much. Congratulations on the bestseller in 3 categories. And I tell you, your story is going to change lives. So I thank you for taking the time to be on Write the Book Now. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And viewing audience, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And again, if their stories resonated with you, either one of them, please look them up. Purchase the book directly from them because their stories are impactful. So thank you. As always, I say, don't wait. Write the book now.